Hi y'all, Easy Slider here. Where do I find requirements for a long distance relationship marriage? Part 1. Well, you remember when we started our journey, we discussed the fact that we'd be getting into things that are a little harder to find, that are harder to do. Well, we've arrived. The bus has pulled into the station, okay? In our long distance journey, we've been looking for a partner that we felt like that we could be with for life, and each step of the way we've discovered new things, we've learned new things, but now we think we've finally reached this critical point to where we've found that person. And as they say, let's put a ring on it. So what now? What do we do? What does the government require? Good question. All right. For whatever reason you're here, whether you were just interested in learning more about long distance relationships because you'd been thinking about doing something like this, or you're in the long distance relationship and you found that person and you're ready to take it forward now, you're in the right place. All right. Now this could be called a couple of things. It goes by several names. Boring, confusing, long and drawn out. Whatever you call it, there's one name that it really is. Mandatory. Yeah, you got that. We're going to be breaking it into several parts, and each part has its own importance. One part is not more important than the other part. Both are equally important. All right? Now, a good idea right now would be to bookmark all of these parts, because you'll want to refer back to them as we go along. We get into this, it starts getting kind of harder to understand. You might want to reference back real quick and check and make sure there's nothing you've missed, all right? So be sure and bookmark it. All right, let's get started. We need to recognize that we're dealing with two different governments, and each has their own set of rules, and we got to make both of them happy, okay? Now, in a past video, you remember we discussed where are you going to get married. This is huge. I'm talking about huge. If you're going to get married in her country and you're going to stay in her country and not come back to the United States, then everything we're doing and talking about today is not even important, because you won't have most of this to do. But you remember, that's if you're going to marry in her country and stay there. And most of the time that doesn't happen. Most of the time the new married couple want to come back to the United States or to whatever country they're going to. But we're going to focus on the United States because that's where we're from. All right, all other countries I'm sure have similar procedures, and they have websites where you can go and you can find out information about them. So if you live in a country other than the United States, you'll be going to them, then you'll want to get online and see if you can find the help you're going to need there. All right. Just remember, everything is kind of divided between, it's not equally divided, but divided between two countries. She'll have some things that she'll need to do in her country. Regulations in both countries, and I can tell you that sometimes it feels overwhelming. Don't worry. Remember, we talked about those tricks, and we're going to be talking about some of those tricks to help you out a little bit. The first step is going to be finding out where to find all of these requirements. Okay, I'm going to post that in a minute. But before I do that, I want to mention a critical fact that maybe you hadn't thought about. The fact that everyone is not alike. Oh yeah, I know you know everyone's not alike, but maybe you hadn't thought about how it affects you here. Let me give you an example. Some people have children. Some people don't have children. Some people want to bring their children. Some people don't want to bring their children. There's an age limit. Sometimes they might want to bring a child that's past the age limit. All right. Some want to bring their parents. Some are married in their country, but they're separated in their country. On and on and on and on. As you can quickly catch on. A lot of different situations, and that's what really makes it difficult, because you have to look at all these regulations and you have to determine which regulation pertains to you, which ones are important to you, and that's what we're going to be looking at. There's rules for each one. For each different regulation, there's a form to be filled out. When you finish filling that form out and you send it in, you'll need to send the money that's required for that particular form with the form. Some of these forms are long and drawn out, and then some of them are a lot of work. But then you find others is not too bad, okay? Especially the ones she's got to do. All right. Some forms have time limits on them. It can be a little tricky. And the reason is because most of the time you want to fill out the time limits last. But there is an exception to that, all right? And that's the medical. She has to have a medical. If you fill that medical out after you've done everything else and sent everything else in, you've wasted all of your time and a lot of money, okay? If it comes back that something's wrong that's going to prohibit her from coming. Now, on the other hand, if you do the medical first, it's going to clear whether or not, there's any problems that y'all are not suspecting. So if everything is good to go, then you can feel safe with that. But the problem is I can guarantee you it's going to expire. And you're going to have to do it again, and you're going to have to pay for it again. You decide, your money, your time. I get asked questions a lot, and one of the questions is, what do the forms cost? Well, each form's different, and each form has a different price. And as of 4/1/2024, the prices are going to change. Don't think they're going down, okay? So it's necessary to make sure that the money you send in is the right amount of money, because if it's the wrong amount, it's going to stop everything and slow everything down, okay? Does it take a lot of time to fill out the forms? And the answer is it can, because of the amount of information that's required. Are the forms confusing? Yes, they can be. Do I need an attorney? The answer is no. However, if you feel like you want to hire an attorney, that's certainly okay. But just remember that a lot of the stuff that the attorney's going to be doing, you're the ones that's going to have to gather all the information up and provide it to the attorney. So you're still going to be doing a lot of work. Now, as soon as you see the forms, I'm not going to be surprised that you realize that you're going to be handling a lot of sensitive material. All right? Might cause you to worry a little bit that this sensitive material could get into the wrong hands. That could be a real problem. But I've known a lot of people has done this, and I'm glad to say that no one that I know has ever had a problem with mishandled information. Also, allow me to suggest an idea that can help you. There's a form that needs to be sent in at the start. And I suggest what you do is when you meet your long distance partner face to face and you've made that this is the right decision, then you all sit down and you do this together and you fill it out together. All right? After that, I would take all of my forms and print them out and save them and send them in all at one time. This lessens the chances of the forms getting lost, okay? Also, at that time, you can send them certified mail or registered mail, and you can have a copy of the forms that you sent. All right. When y'all are together and you fill out your form face to face, any forms you've got that you need her assistance on, you can do it then, and I can tell you, it's going to tell you whether you're compatible or not, all right? Now, go to the sites and read them and find the forms that are specifically meant for you, all right? There's going to be a lot of them. And it's a good time to look everything over. You're going to find a box at the top right that's called Emma. And if you run into something you're unsure of, you can ask Emma. It's a helpful box, and if you use it, you can get some good information from it. As you look at these forms, you're going to need to find the forms that are you feel are necessary for you, and write down the number. Each form has a number, so write down the number of the form because you're going to need that later. Now, I'm going to list forms that you're going to be needing in part 2, video number 18. So that should help you a lot, and you can compare what you've looked at to the forms that I've told you, and find out that probably some of them you missed. All right. Many forms will allow you to print them out, fill them out and print them out, and that's the easiest way to do it. You can send them in online, but I just don't recommend that. It's just better to do it all at once. Now, trick number 1, same thing I was talking about. I found out it's better to print them out if it allows you. It may not allow you to print some of them out. Print them out, you may have to hand fill some of them out, but that's okay. Keep them together, you send them in all at once, and you send them certified or registered mail, and then you've got proof of everything. All right, when you see how many forms there are, you're going to be thinking, boy, that's a lot. You're going to probably feel overwhelmed. Don't worry. I'm going to tell you the trick to that right now. Trick number 2. Take one form at a time and keep working on that form until you've finished with that form. Don't stop and start working on another form. No, don't do it. If you start stopping and starting other forms, you're going to quickly feel overwhelmed, and it'll just get the better of you. But just when you take them one form at a time, you don't feel like there's as much to do. You can just forget all of those other ones. Just put them out of your mind, okay? You're not working on them. Just focus on one form at a time. Now remember, these forms can change from time to time as well as the money can change from time to time. So keep in mind while you're filling out the forms, the price might change. Just double check everything. On the flip side, as things progress in your long distance relationship, your partner will have things to do. She'll have to, well, let me just stop a second and say, back in a previous video, I mentioned to you, find out if she's married. Now, you want to get this out of the way the very first thing. It's the number 1 thing you want to accomplish, okay? She needs to go to the National Statistics Office of the Civil Registrar General, to get a clearance for marriage. From there, she'll get a sheet of paper saying that she's eligible to become married, and you need that. You want that the very first thing. You don't want any surprises, okay? And you know she's got to get a medical checkup, and remember what we talked about the medical exam. All right. After you've sent everything in and they've checked everything, she'll be going for interviews at the embassy, and probably more than one. Now, don't forget to bookmark, because you might be needing some of this later on, and make it easy for you just to refer back to it. Are you ready? Drum roll, please. Okay, in an effort not to overwhelm you, I'm going to stop at this point today. This is going to allow you to look at the USCIS page and start familiarizing yourself with that and start looking at the information. So you've got a lot to do, and this is going to give you time to familiarize yourself with that. And let's just slide on over to learn more about the USCIS.